It's so easy to get stuck in a rut. Even as an Olympic athlete doing a sport that's so exciting like whitewater kayaking, you know, you're doing it every day and it gets to be kind of a bit monotonous, and to do something different and to be able to be around excellence like that, it kind of refuels the fire and reminds you that you're human and that you have limits, and to push them is really great.
The training and the dedication that requires to be an Olympic athlete is so full on, and so to have this opportunity to get out there and try something different is definitely a dream come true.
Anytime you do something with someone that's that good at something is exciting.
You know, who better to teach me the ropes than someone that's been there and done it all?
Definitely kind of thought I had somebody that was pretty game to try something. You know, you roll up in a Beamer with the music pumping. Seemed like he had a good attitude and ready to kind of get wet.
How's it going? I'm Chris.
Hey, David.
Nice to meet you.
Ready to get wet?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Lots of fun today, man. Lots of fun.
Cool.
My name is Christopher Spring, and I'm a two-time Olympic bobsled pilot. Yeah, I kind of took a non-traditional path into the sport. A lot of people get recruited from different sports, whether it be football, track and field, things like this. But for me, I came to the bobsled track in Calgary at Canada Olympic Park, and I came to watch a race one day and just immediately fell in love and wanted to know more about the sport. And so from there, I asked questions, got into a sled, and 9 years later, here I am. The love of bobsleigh, I think, comes from the speed of going down the track and how technical it can be as well. Picking your line, going into different corners, knowing that, you know, a small mistake can cost you not only time, but maybe a crash as well, and that thrills me and excites me. So the constant kind of need or the want that I have for the perfect run is something that continues to drive me in the sport. It is very sport specific, and what we do is definitely focused on that first 5 seconds of pushing down the track, and then from there I continue on into driving. But I do feel like I miss out a lot on different activities and adventures that I can have, especially with the mountains being so close to Calgary here. So, you know, going out and trying new sports is something that I like to do, as long as I can be safe at the same time and know that it's not going to hinder my bobsleigh career. Kayaking interests me, A, because there's water, and I grew up next to the ocean, so I love the water and I love being around water, right? So kayaking definitely appeals to me in that way. And also I find there's a lot of similarities with it. Choosing your line, making sure you make that gate. Not that I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to make these gates or not, but that definitely is something that appeals to me, and I think is a good parallel or a good tangent that I can stay on from bobsleigh into kayaking. It's intimidating for sure, you know, someone that's been to an Olympics 5 times, being world champion. Obviously he's very good, and I'm coming into this with 0 experience in the sport, and I'm just hoping that my athletic ability, or somewhat athletic ability, is going to take over here, and I'm going to show him that us bobsledders, we're not just, you know, meat and potatoes here. We got a little bit of extra on the side.
So have you got any paddling experience?
A little bit of paddling experience, a lot of swimming experience, so hopefully I don't have to draw on too much of that today.
You know, I've been whitewater rafting before, I know how it goes. You know, I'm paddling, I'm a strong paddler, and next minute, boom, I'm thrown out of the boat. I'm like, where am I? I'm like underneath the boat, I'm trying to find some air, and all I can see is darkness. I think I'm stuck under there, and next minute, my teammate reaches down, pulls me up, and next minute I'm back in the boat. Hopefully that wasn't gonna happen again.
Well, hopefully, but you know, the river's a little unpredictable, so
okay.
Hopefully we can get you out there and not get you too wet, but you probably do a little bit of swimming. I started paddling when I was around 8 years old. My family were very outdoorsy people, spent a lot of time in the mountains, and it was either sit in the campsite or go biking or cycling, kayaking, whatever they were doing. And the sport kind of discovered me by accident, and it's been quite a wild ride ever since. There are aspects of being an athlete now that are definitely a job. Certainly training when it's -5 and your hair freezes to the inside of your helmet, so you got to drive home in your gear to change. That sort of stuff feels like a job, but one of the things I love about my sport is that it's a lifestyle sport and I'd be doing it anyway. My name's David Ford. I'm a world champion and 5-time Olympian in whitewater slalom kayaking. To be really good at anything, it takes a real kind of narrow focus, and so I spent a lot of time doing my sport or thinking about my sport, preparing for my sport. So there's not a lot of opportunities to kind of step outside what you're doing. Injury is certainly a scary thing, and going out and doing other things opens the door for injuries and other things to kind of derail what you're trying to do, and so it's tough to find balance sometimes. I don't know anything about bobsleigh, and so it'll be really cool to kind of get in their world and, you know, maybe scare myself a little bit. Should be fun. I think whether you're trying to learn within your sport or another sport, it's just that willingness to understand you don't know things and that you can learn and that change is possible. And I think stepping outside your comfort zone is kind of the key to feeling alive, and that's what trying new things is all about.
I just have this picture of this mountain of a man who can just, you know, wheel his way through gates just with one single stroke of a paddle, you know, and when I meet him, he's very calm, a bit smaller than I thought, and definitely, like I said, yeah, very calm and a calming personality as well.
Those are the slalom boats.
Slalom boats? That's
really edgy and tippy. As you can see, sharp edges, not very forgiving.
Okay.
This is what we call a creek boat. Much rounder, much more forgiving. So we'll probably start in this one.
You know what, I respect his judgment on this, even though I think that I still could have performed well in the slalom kayak.
This you can kind of rely on being almost like a beach ball. You're floating on top of the water and kind of bouncing down the river. I definitely had some concerns with bringing a bobsledder into a kayak. You know, some of those brakemen can be pretty large, and Chris didn't disappoint. He's a big guy, and we were lucky that we had some equipment that would probably fit him, but I was definitely a little worried whether or not that boat would float enough for him. There's a bar down there that you push your feet against. So you're jamming your feet against that bar, tucking your knees up under these pads, and then that gives you your stability position. So if you tip or lean or fall over, you can either hold yourself in or come out.
The kayak is literally this big. My bum is this big, and my legs are the same size as my butt, right? And so I see the size of it, I'm thinking, there's no way I can fit in this.
Oh geez, it's tight squeeze, eh? Let's go in here.
With his size, it just made sense to take him in a more all-river creek boat, which would let him have more fun and maybe not let me have as much fun watching him swim, but give him a better feeling out on the water.
Like a glove, buddy. It's actually easier than getting on my race suit.
Are they pretty tight?
Yeah, sometimes tighter than I expect.
I watched my wife race downhill at 140 kilometers an hour, you know, skin to win, and I always kind of laughed at her, and now I think I'm facing the karma side of me laughing at her cold in a skin suit. Those guys are pretty fit specimens, and I'm gonna be a skinny little kayaker in probably a baggy skin suit, so we'll see. Now, I'll give you the paddle, but I'll show you how to use it once we get out there.
Okay.
So if you just hang
Jeez.
there for a second, I'll join you.
We're getting this going. I didn't expect to be in the water this quickly, to be honest.
What I tried to teach him was just the basics of a forward stroke, a backstroke, a little bit of defensive turning if he needed to get somewhere. But I didn't want to cloud his mind too much because, you know, you can paralyze somebody with too much information, and I just wanted to give him what he would need to be able to survive out there. Without getting too technical, the stroke kind of comes from your back. You don't actually want to be pulling with your arms as much as...
Well, here I was thinking I'd be able to use these guns.
Well, you will. Breaststroke or front crawl takes a lot of strength. My worry with Chris being such a strong guy was that he was going to just try and rely on his power. And we have a saying in our sport, the power is in the water. And I've had runs where it feels like you didn't even take a stroke. It was so easy just because you're harnessing the river's ability to take you where you need to go. Just let it stop for a second and switch the other way. There you go. Nice and flat stroke away from the boat.
Yeah, well, it's an amazing experience already being with David and being out on the water. And then you look around and, you know, we're right in the middle of the mountains and we're so close to Calgary. It's literally just down the road. And we can be, you know, submerged in this, you know, mountain getaway and on the water, learning a different sport. And there's not many places in the world that you can do that.
So that's kind of the basic strokes. You feeling comfortable with that?
Yeah, I think as comfortable as I can be at this within
being
in the water for 20
normally
minutes.
We'd give you a few more hours of practice, but like, you keen to go out and maybe take a look at the river and give it a shot?
Sure.
All right, well, let's go hit it.
If we were to do this, we should work on the roll first.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, to teach you the roll, I'd have to wade in up to my waist. And,
Right, you don't want to get that wet.
yeah.
I think he laughed at me when I wanted to learn how to do a roll. I thought it would be not easy, but accomplishable in 5 minutes.
So, we'll start here, because that's where the start of the roll is.
Piece of cake!
It's simple, but it's complicated.
Well, the way you do it makes it look simple.
I had zero confidence that he might come back up.
And he says to me, before I go, less power is better, which I don't believe. So of course I'm gonna reef on this paddle, and I don't go anywhere.
Did I get close?
You got upside down.
Who would have thought less is more?
I rolled with it in like the right spot, you know?
That's what it feels like, but when I'll come out with you and I'll put it on the surface and you'll see what that feels like. It's very different.
You gotta reach for it.
You gotta reach for it.
I'm gonna try again, you know? I thought I can blow this guy's mind and just do it first shot. He's never seen anything like this before. But maybe...
I felt pretty confident when we left the lake that the few strokes I'd shown him with his strength were good enough that he could use them on the river. My primary concern was the amount of power he had. If he got into a funny situation, I didn't know if that power would end up flipping him or doing something really weird.
Is that all me?
I was holding the blade. That's too much power.
Too much power.
That's too much power.
That's the first time someone's ever told me that.
Too much power. This is a finesse game. We'd spend more time learning before you get into the river environment.
Right.
And you learn your kind of skill level.
Yep.
Paddle with people that you trust, and
Okay.
then it's actually very safe.
Okay.
Very safe.
So next summer, watch out.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to getting him out on the water and seeing how he does, because to start, he looks great, and it's that athleticism. You know, we spend so much time with our bodies and learning how we work that I think it's just transferring really quickly for him. But you know, we'll see how he does with that first wave in the face.
You know, I'm trusting David's better judgment and he thinks I'm ready for it. So even though I might not think that I'm 100% ready, if he says we're good to go, we're good to go.
So, Chris, this is a parking lot of Canoe Meadows. Built this area in the 80s for our Olympic training facilities. Half an hour from Calgary. Probably one of the best sort of local paddling areas in the world for just getting out and having a lot of fun, and pretty safe environment.
Okay. What's the depth change usually?
It's always twice as deep as halfway down.
What does that even mean?
Twice as deep.
That's halfway down. Anyway,
I'll be thinking about that before bed tonight. I still don't get this.
So yeah, this is the group that's here training right now with the Alberta team and working with the Waterworks Club who lent us the equipment for you to use today. And it's kind of one of those things, it's not a huge barrier to entry to get into the sport. The clubs are here, they have the equipment, rent it, loan it. Guys are here to teach you, and it's such a fun environment here that, you know, it's the kind of thing living in Calgary that everyone should give a try. And by 4 o'clock, the slalom course will be full of water. And it'll come right up to the top of these rocks here. And create
It looks
everything.
hilarious. These things are just hanging there,
I
right?
know.
And it's like, what are they for? And then
the water comes on
and
and you see
away
the
you go.
waves and the eddies and away you go. But this is one of those sections I was talking about where we've pinched it.
in, yeah.
So this will all fill in and it almost be like a lake. And then that head of water pushes down on this stuff. And then if you look, we put some rocks into the drop, both at the top of the drop and below the drop.
Okay.
And what that creates is that motion of flow and then bounces back, which kind of makes those waves stand up and,
Okay.
and do the chain.
And that's gonna happen like the whole way down here?
It'll go, the waves will stop around the red gate that you see
Okay.
hanging, and then it'll be fairly flat, but there will be little rapids that come out from the sides of all those rock berms. And behind each of these piles of rocks
Right.
is kind of a safe haven. That's the eddies where the water actually is flowing upstream.
Right.
But in a race course, we'd have around 23, 24 slalom gates.
Okay.
Green ones you do downstream.
Okay.
The red ones you do upstream, and there are usually 6 to 8 upstream gates, and the rest are downstream gates.
Okay. And is there a difference between the two green colors,
No,
or that's
just cheapest paint on the
Right. I think that at the end of the day, when I'm competing and when he's competing, we do feel like we are somewhat alone, even though we have this huge team behind us, and we definitely draw on that for the confidence to go into a race. You know, we watch video and it's like, you could be a little bit more, you know, like 3 inches lower here, or you could build a bit more pressure there. And so, you know, and then I'll go up and do another run and see if I can replicate that. And then if I don't, maybe we'll only do 2 or 3 runs that day because it's so like taxing on the body and on my brain too,
sure.
right? So the learning curve is so slow because we can't physically get that much time on task.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's great about our sport is I'll come out and do a full-length race run, training in the morning. If I struggle, say, on this section, I can leave that section set, come out in the afternoon, and I can just do that for 2 hours.
Right.
With a coach on the riverbank with video. And so the learning curve can be much steeper.
For sure.
And I can kind of get immediate feedback on what I tried. Did it work? Did it not work?
Right.
And then bring it into the race runs later if they set that move again.
Right.
And so it's pretty nice in our sport to be able to do that.
For sure. To see this guy who started the sport before I was even born makes me wonder, you know, how much of a superhero is this guy? You know, he's been at the top level for so long, and definitely has so many stories and so much knowledge to bring to the table, and I can learn a lot and did learn a lot from what he had to say.
Yeah, it was great to sit down with Chris before the water went on and just have a moment to kind of talk athlete to athlete. I think it's really easy to kind of feel a little downtrodden at times, and to hear someone else's perspective and to kind of hear that someone else kind of goes through similar things and how they dealt with it is really good, just from a therapeutic standpoint almost, to kind of know that you have a comrade out there and you're not alone in kind of beating your head against the wall as an athlete. Curious about like setbacks in your sport. Like obviously you had a big crash.
Yeah, I had a big crash January 5th, 2012, and put me in hospital, had to get surgery, and there was a bunch of the guys that went to hospital as well. I was impaled by a piece of wood about yay big into my butt and up into my back. So I was out for the rest of the season, and you know, contemplated not returning to the sport. You know, I didn't think that this sport was as dangerous as that. Do you know what I mean? 3 races back in, we were on a World Cup podium, so that was really neat to get back and to be successful quick again, you know?
For sure. Mentally, I guess that's a big hurdle, is to get back to feeling like you can run fast again.
It's not just me in the sled, it's not just me with my own thoughts, you know? It's my guys giving me that confidence over and over and over again. So it does make it a bit easier, but still there are some hard days, like when I'm not driving so well, or, you know, maybe I nearly crashed on a run before, and, you know, I think to myself, wow, remember what happened that one time?
Yeah.
You know, and it's difficult to control your thoughts, but it's something that I've worked with over the years, and I'm sure that's something that you've had to battle as well.
To some degree, I mean, this is a dangerous sport if you don't respect the boundaries the river gives you, but I'm really lucky in that the courses I race on now are predominantly manufactured.
Right.
And that they manufacture a safe environment. So
sure.
you might hit your head, dislocate your shoulder, which are terrible things,
Right.
but you're not going to lose your life. And I've lost more friends than I can count on fingers and toes running rivers, you know, going and doing first ascents, 200-foot waterfalls, like just crazy stuff. And I've chosen not to do that anymore, but the racing environment, the only real fear I have is the fear of failure. I've never been as scared as the moment when they told me I had cancer, and it's a very sobering moment when you have a 2-year-old son and you're thinking about racing your 6th Olympic Games and preparing for that, and all of a sudden you got to deal with something much bigger than sport. And you know, if anything comes from what I'm going through right now, I hope it's just a lesson to the younger paddlers that you can take care of yourself a little bit better, worry about your sunscreen and sun exposure, and skin cancer isn't something you deal with later, and it's okay. It can be very real and very scary. Just the center section of the course is kind of a bit of a lake, so if we end up swimming or separated or something goes wrong, that's worst case scenario is you swim to there, it's a lake, you get out, all good.
To be able to learn from someone that has so much experience in a particular skill is something that I can't do every day. And so having this chance, I definitely was trying to absorb as much as I could.
That's rain. Just sit here.
You know, we're standing on this rock looking out to you know, upstream and looking at the water level literally rise in front of your eyes. Very cool stuff.
If you feel in peril, abandon your equipment.
Okay.
Swim to shore, right? We'll deal with the equipment somewhere else. Someone else will grab your stuff, okay? At the very least, if you can hang on to your paddle, that would be great, because that's the hardest thing for me to spot is the paddle. We're not gonna do anything crazy. When we're in the actual whitewater, we're not gonna try and do too many maneuvers. We're just gonna go down sort of the center of the river, almost floating. This boat is really stable, really bouncy. And then we'll just sort of float down the middle so you can feel that speed. And after we do one of those, you can decide whether you want to try a little bit more or do something else.
Well, I was a lot more comfortable when the water was lower, and now it's, you know, it's rushing down, and I'm a little nervous.
With his first run, I was obviously nervous. If he swims, I have to deal with him in the water, his boat in the water, and his paddle, and they may not be anywhere near each other. If you guys can, but I don't want to wreck your day. Like, those guys are going to be out too. Well, we're going to start just up here and just float to the Miami beach at some point. And we just wanted to make sure if he ran into a funny situation that we could make sure he got out of the water.
I like this walking the track, you know?
Yeah, you got it?
Makes me feel at home. You just go.
So literally, you don't have to do anything here at all. Like, you could just have your hands up in the air and just let the current take you over these waves, and your boat might turn a bit. If you can kind of correct with really gentle backstrokes to keep your bow pointing down, that's always going to be your safest position, is the bow, the stern following the bow, just pointing down. Sideways, things can get a little bit, but even then, if you're sideways, just don't panic. Just always lean downstream and just stay really calm.
Okay, got it.
Now, if you swim up there, which is possible, like there's waves, if you swim up there, we'll try and get you and your equipment out somewhere right in here.
David's talking about being on this line here because of what you want to do, you know, 20 meters down the river or 3 turns down the river. And it's similar to what we try and do on the bobsleigh track.
The risk is you're going to put your bow into one of the eddies and get spun around.
Which is the bow?
The front. You're going to put the front and it'll spin you around. So this is where you're going to have the highest likelihood of swimming.
No, he doesn't have that much confidence in my ability.
You still up for doing it?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay.
I was ready, but at the same time I was hesitant, you know?
Just like bobsledding, right? Don't do too much. Less power is better. If I fail, don't panic. Pull on this guy, tuck forward, relax my legs, hold on to my equipment, swim to shore. I think that's it.
Firstly, I'm gonna try not to fall. That way I don't have to remember that much at all.
Remember, lean this way, lean this way. Lean this way, yep, lean this way. You're all good, lean this way, all good. Strokes on the right, strokes on the, lean downstream.
You know, I can see that it's moving quick, but until you're in there, and I'm literally 20 meters away from this first, feature, I'm like, I don't want to go down there just
We're
yet.
gonna try and go right in the middle of that red gate. That's kind of where we're shooting.
Just gotta calm down, wear it off, and remember what David was teaching me in the flat water. Originally, what I thought we were gonna be doing is maneuvering around these gates. And then I realized how little control I have, and I just want to get down the river.
Bow straight down, bow straight down. Woohoo!
The amount of volume or the speed of the water over those rocks is very quick, so definitely made me second guess my own ability. Although as I go over this fall, I feel the boat, starting to tip quite a lot.
Good save! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!
I think on the outside he was pretty pumped, but on the inside I think he was just a little bit upset.
I don't know how you saved that one right there. In a bobsled, stuff's happening so fast. I would assume to be a good pilot, you'd have to be so good at that forward-thinking mentality, and he jumped all over that on the water. Now lean left, lean left, lean left. You're all good. I cannot believe you're not swimming yet. You got this.
Yeah! I stayed up.
I don't know how that happened. That was amazing. You want to do more? All right.
Yeah, let's do another one, man. See how we go.
Good feel for the water, keeping the bow where it needs to be, keeping the boat running, good leans. No, it's perfect.
Okay, so David's just heading upriver. He's gonna show me what slalom's all about.
So fast, eh?
Kind of when life is really hectic and going all over the place, you get on the river, which should be the most hectic place around, and you kind of can feel the flow of the water going in one direction, and it sort of settles my soul.
How can he be so stable on there? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that.
So having this day with David has definitely made me appreciate what we have so close to Calgary, being out in the mountains, being out with nature there, and it's something that I'm definitely going to strive to achieve more throughout the later parts of my career.
He was able to use that power at times when he had to get over a wave or through a wave, and the rest of the time he kind of let the water take him, and that's the key to our sport is using that power in the water as much as you can.
Whether you're a beginner or an expert, everyone seems to be loving there and want you to succeed, and it was really great to hear and to see, when I make it through this section, everyone cheering me on and wanting me to be successful.
One of the reasons why I've had a career that spans so long is I love going to the river every day, and anytime you have an opportunity to take somebody who is at the top of what they do and introduce them to something that I love so much, it's pretty exciting. And to see the enthusiasm and the smile grow the more we paddled was pretty gratifying.
He's done so much for his sport, and hopefully in years to come, my paddling ability increases, and I can join him on a few days out on the water.
Well, I'm a little disappointed.
Right. No bails.
No.
Well, not on the...
You proved me wrong.
Proved you wrong, yeah?
Yeah, that's awesome. No.
Hey, man.
That's impressive.
I had a great day today. Thanks very much, David.
Pleasure.
So to repay back the favor of David teaching me, his sport, I'm gonna get him in one of my bobsleds.
We're gonna do it at the Calgary track here, so we'll hit about 130 kilometers an hour. Just under 5 Gs, so 4.5 to 5 Gs. You're gonna feel like your lips are gonna kiss the bottom of the sled.
So wear my adult diapers or something. God.
We're gonna slow down, but we're not gonna stop. So I'm hoping he doesn't pass out, or we put him in my 4-man sled.
You certainly don't want to have a big accident. I know he's had his fair share, and I don't want to be a cause of anything bad, and I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to have, like I said, have him going down the bobsled track without me. That would be pretty embarrassing if I can't even load the sled.
Even the best guys in the world sometimes don't get in.
It seems like we're cut from similar cloth, you know, and it's nice to have someone who lives close by, who's in the trenches, living the same dream. And I'm hoping that after the bobsled experience, it won't be the last time we get a chance to sit down together. It's been a couple of months now. Lots of time to build up the anticipation.
And what do you think he's got planned for you tonight?
Well, I'm imagining a little bit of spandex, but I'm hoping he enjoyed his time on the river enough that I don't have too much to worry about. I'm used to being in control of my boat, and this is a little bit of trust in Chris to drive his sled, but you know, he knows what he's doing, I hope.
It's been a few months since I've seen David, and nothing's changed. He's still charismatic and really eager to get inside a bobsled. David.
Hey man.
Good to see you.
You too, how's it been?
Good. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Yeah, busy training.
Excited?
Yeah. I'm excited to get out there now. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's been so long since we paddled. I
know, right?
Had all this time to get sort of excited about it.
Excited or nervous about it?
Well, I think both go hand in hand.
I think so, yeah. You know, I was excited for David to come out and try my sport, just as excited as what I was to try his sport. And I'm gonna see if you feel comfortable pushing a sled.
Yeah.
And then we'll check out the sled, we'll check out the track, get you seated in there, just so you know exactly what you're in for, and we'll head to the top and rip it down.
Awesome. That's gonna be fun. First thing we did, which is actually the first thing I do in my sport, is we went and walked the track.
This is where all the fun starts. And this is probably where you're gonna do most of the work today. So brakeman will stand here, number 2 guy here, and then number 3 guy on the other side. And I'll stand up the front here. The sled is in these grooves here, so that when we push the sled, it actually goes in a straight line. Because if we didn't have the grooves and it was just bare ice, which it is 50 meters down the track, then we'd just push it straight into the wall probably. So I wanted him to feel comfortable going down the track and for him to get an understanding of what I have to do inside the sled, even though he wouldn't be piloting the sled, to give him that appreciation of the speed and the technicality that is bobsleigh and that is driving a bobsled.
What's the time for the whole run?
For this run, I hold the Canadian record for this track, and I used to hold the track record or the world record for this track until it was beaten by 2 100s. In 2-man, that's 54.61 seconds.
Okay.
And in 4-man, it's about 1 second faster than that.
I'm happy that he has a record on this track, so I don't have to worry so much about him knowing what he's doing. Because, yeah, you know, just feeling the ice. It's a world I'm not used to.
Right.
I didn't really know what to expect going bobsledding, to be honest. You know, I'm a whitewater summer athlete, and to get Chris to teach me about a sport that is so different and yet it's kind of the same, you know, the principles of having to think ahead into the corners and dealing so quickly with so many elements. It was great to hear somebody else's take on a similar environment that's actually really foreign.
But the first 3 corners are the most important corners on this track.
Right.
Because they are quite easy, if you screw it up, the race is over.
Yeah.
Head on down.
Yeah. Brought to mind a lot of the things I think about, the imagery we use, the sort of mental tactics to kind of get the flow of something that's happening so quickly.
If I'm gonna dumb it down, there's 3 ways to steer. There's how much to steer, how long to steer, and where to steer.
Yeah.
Just like driving a car, you know, you want to steer at this point, this hard, and for this long.
Sure.
Similar to how you were describing it to me with kayaking here, you want to let the water do the work.
He really understands in his mind where he needs to be at all times so that sled is using the least amount of energy possible.
On this track especially, you're just guiding the sled at the right time to be in the right position.
Sure.
And let the track propel you forward.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, coming into a corner, you know, I have an ideal line that I'd like to go into that corner and exit the corner at. And Unfortunately, it never works out exactly the way I would like to. I'm still searching for that perfect run. And there are some corners in the world where you want to be a millimeter from the roof.
Wow.
And if you hit it, no big deal. That's not where we want to be. So we want to be right here so that the corner helps us do the work.
Right.
It's what you do in the corner that gives you a nice exit out of the corner.
Sure. Yeah. When I'm doing my sport, I'm in charge of my destiny. If I make a mistake, I know it's because I didn't do something right. And so to sit behind somebody and put your health in their hands is foreign to me for sure. But at the same time, he's a decorated pilot. What's happening to the guys behind you in a corner like that?
Hopefully my guys are sitting there going, oh yeah, he's nailing it right now. But that doesn't happen all the time.
Can they feel it if you're nailing it?
They can feel it, yeah. They have the sense of how long it should take to get from here to here.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going in late into a corner, it's an extra, maybe 0.2 of a second. So they're like, oh, we should be on by now, and so, oh, this is gonna be late, things like that.
As much as I understood the conversation about what he's thinking, slipping around, not being able to stand up very well, knowing that I'm going to be sitting in this tightly packed sled with three other guys, it was pretty nerve-wracking actually. I got pretty nervous walking down there and thinking about what was coming. So how deep is the ice?
The ice is twice as deep as half the thickness.
Got it.
So this is corners 6, 7, and 8. And this is what they call the Omega series of corners. And there has to be an Omega series in every bobsleigh track. And they call it Omega because if you look from an aerial view, it looks like the Omega symbol.
Okay.
So it's quick, left, right, left. Could be right, left, right, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's very important to have a good exit to set you up for the next corner, which sets you up for the next corner. And we'll be pulling, and the entrance of 7 here, this is quite an abrupt take on, just under 5 Gs here.
Wow.
Yeah.
When we were walking that, I didn't have an understanding of what 5 Gs felt like at all.
Like an 800-pound bear on top of you, just wrestling you down.
Yeah, I do that for training on Wednesdays, so.
No big deal.
No big deal.
When there's a lot of force on you, it wants to push things out, and whether that's kind of push out a little snot out of your nose, and it can kind of push things out of areas that maybe you don't want them coming out of.
Having a 2-year-old son, I knew exactly what that looked like, and I was a bit nervous about it. And I still, to this day, don't know if he was just having me on or not. G's aren't a big thing in my sport. It's how long have I had to hold my breath underwater.
David's a pretty cool guy, so he doesn't like to show too much emotion, it seems, and so it was hard to gauge to see if he was actually nervous or if he was just playing it cool, Actually, we'll get out at the end of this corner, because then the luge guys are coming in, and we don't want to get hit by them.
No. Don't want to be a loser.
No.
When we started walking down there and I saw how quickly the track falls away, how big those banks are, yeah, my heart was going a little bit. It's also the puzzle, high performance. Whether it's my sport, his sport. And when you start talking about it, it's exciting. And so you want to experience what you're talking about and kind of see how all those things feel in the real setting rather than just intellectually discussing it.
For David, I wanted him to feel very comfortable in the sled. So the most important thing for him was to make it inside the sled. And so before we got up to the track, we did a little bit of work in the ice house as well. All right, David, this is the world famous ice house. It doesn't look like much from the outside, but inside, beautiful. All right, David, this is the world famous ice house. It doesn't look like much from the outside, but inside, beautiful.
Where should I change? Just here?
Right there, man.
All right.
Girl.
This is like kayaking.
It's just like kayaking, right? We're all friends here, right? So we're gonna do some dry loads first. So we're not actually going. See how you feel with that.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go from there, okay? Yeah, at the top of the track, it's a different story. It's colder up there, the wind's blowing. All you can see is kind of like a dark tunnel down the road. So it's a different environment, and I definitely didn't want him to feel out of place. It's one thing to push hard in the ice house here, where if you fall, then no big deal. You get up and you do it again. But if you fall at the top, or if you don't make it in quite well, then you're sitting down in an uncomfortable position, in an uncomfortable sled, and experiencing some things that you'll never experience anywhere else in the world.
And is this actually how it is set up? The two guys are side by side here?
Yeah.
So does this guy get in there and this guy?
He gets in here.
Here.
To the side, and his seat is here.
So
it's
you gotta
basically
go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So I have to go from here,
Yep.
get in, and get down there.
Yeah.
So running.
Yeah. Perfect. He looks pretty good, like a natural.
Till I spike him in the back. I didn't realize actually how sharp the spikes are that you wear when you start.
And we're gonna say ready and go, and then you're gonna start pushing and going from there. Know your role of which foot to get onto the bunk first, and then to hop into the sled. And so I definitely didn't want to overwhelm him by blasting it off the top. I know he's not the fastest of guys, and so I wanted to make sure that he was comfortable with the speed we were going at. We're not gonna go flat out tonight.
I don't have your flat out.
Right. Good thing is you're getting in second.
Yeah. When you do the countdown, you actually push the sled and it's actually rocketing away from the start. And let me tell you, when Chris pushes, that sled jumps.
1, 2, 3, go.
It's just like the start of a track. And Chris showed me how to get in the sled, and then we went through some repetitions, pushing off and loading up and getting in to make sure that when we went up to the top of the track, he wasn't going to leave me behind at the start. And that made me feel a lot better getting 3 or 4 reps on that.
All right, David. This is my 4-man sled.
The actual?
The actual, his name is Moose. I didn't name him. It was named prior to him coming into my possession.
All right.
Sled cost about $100,000 to make, so we treat her with care.
Got it.
Frame, cowling, steering, and 4 idiots that jump inside. David, Joel.
Hey, Joel. Good to meet
So
you.
Joel's interested in trying out bobsleigh for the first time, and what better way to jump in a competition sled with myself.
So, David, this is gonna be your seat right here.
Yeah.
Joel, your seat is right here. All right. My brakeman, Josh, is in the back. And this is me right up in the front here, okay?
I can imagine it being really tight for someone who's the right size to go in there.
Oh yeah, especially like 230 pounds, like
Yeah.
just chilling there. Yeah, it'd be interesting for sure.
It's not a lifestyle sport like kayaking where, everyone in Canada at some point has been in a canoe or a kayak or done something on water. Not everybody gets a chance to hop in a bobsled. And so it's interesting how they recruit, going to the track and field guys and the football players, CFL, and getting the big, powerful guys to come out and try something else.
And Joel, over. And you're gonna want your hands to come through, yeah.
The sled is not comfortable at all.
So we have 4 guys, and we all want to be able to start pushing the sled at the exact same time. So timing is very important.
I won't just yell brakes, it'll be brakes, 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 brakes. So oh yeah, I'll be yelling them out. If you want to join in on the front, okay? Yeah. And Josh will yell them too, and if you're not moving, he will make you move, okay?
The number one question asked by every newbie that's been down the track: how do you get the sled to the top?
You notice they're not asking the kayaker to help lift the sled.
1, 2, 3.
A little more to the left, boys.
So it's pretty primitive. We throw it on the back of a flatbed truck, and we lock it in, jump in, and drive to the top.
I'm used to following the sun around the world wearing flip-flops and board shorts, and to be in such a foreign environment and have it be such a true Canadian night it just added something to the flavor of the experience for sure. Nothing about this feels familiar, which is awesome.
Anyway, I might be off to maybe put it a little to the side.
Yeah, I feel a little nervous, but yeah, ready to go.
When you're at the top of the track and it's -5 and snowing and blowing a gale, and all you can see is this darkness going down the icy tunnel, you're nervous, and I didn't want to overwhelm him.
Knowing the accident he had, and we were walking the track talking about being an inch off of the roof, I wanted to make sure that that inch didn't get affected by me wobbling my butt around by not being seated properly.
It's very hard to describe what a bobsled run is going to be like. Some people that have been in the sport for a long time say that it's like being put in a garbage can and getting kicked down a hill.
My biggest thing as we're starting to go was just really trying to listen to Chris. You know, he's the captain of the ship and there's 3 other guys with him, and I wanted to make sure I was in sync with that loading sequence.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
I took a quick peek behind me just to make sure he was in and settled, and yeah, surprisingly enough, he was in there.
The run starts really casually, actually. Once you're loaded in the sled, there's a few turns where it's kind of really quiet. But then you start hitting the bigger turns and it's loud, my head's slamming against the sides. There were a few times in some of those corners where I thought my helmet was going to get lower than my feet. Vibration in the sled, it's just the whole thing is just shaking like it's going to fly apart. It was violent. You know, within all the violence, within all the G's, the whole time I just had a smile on my face. His turns had to be initiated within like 6-inch placements on the track, and I just have no idea how you would know where that is. The whole thing came together well. I certainly had a good time, and I'm glad he took the time to show me what his sport looks like.
David, you good?
I was not expecting that kind of G.
No? How was it, man? You good?
I appreciate this like crazy.
Right on.
Boys.
Thanks, man. That was awesome.
We gotta get this off for the boys here at the top. Over 120 kilometers an hour, which in your car seems, you know, a regular day on the highway, but in a bobsled, twisting down the track is still moving very fast.
Oh, they said it was going to be rough and it was bouncy, but what I didn't expect was how hard the G's hit in some of those bigger turns. My helmet wanted to be pressed into the floor between my legs. That was a rush.
He gave me lots of room, didn't crowd me, and he's still alive at the bottom, so overall, success, I think.
I think anytime you have an opportunity to do something this different with someone that's that good at what they do, it affects how you look at things. And certainly for me, I have a new frame of reference for what bobsled looks like, a new appreciation for the sport, and it's allowed me to kind of push my envelope. And anytime you do that, I think it's only a good thing.
You know, as athletes, we definitely enjoy what we're good at. And what we don't particularly enjoy is stepping out of our comfort zone and trying new things. And this experience here has definitely resonated with me because it's something that I like to do, but it's something that I am fearful of doing, and that's trying new things because of the fear of failure.
This whole experience has been pushing the boundaries of the learning curve for sure. You know, taking Chris out on the whitewater and getting him from never been in a boat to actually running the Kananaskis River in one day is pretty shocking. And for me to show up after never even being at a bobsled track before to pushing in the ice house and then actually loading and running a sled with Olympic athletes was a pretty shocking few hours for sure. And I was nervous going in and had a lot of fun doing it.
Having David, you know, be there and be supportive of me trying kayaking and vice versa with me, having him come out and do bobsleigh definitely was something that, like I said, resonates with me, and I urge people out there to try new things, whether it be a new sport or a new activity. It definitely opens your mind to a whole different world.
Did I get close?
You got upside down.